It's like you can't help but draw in breath. It animates you. It brings in life force. It's prana. It's mana. It's all the good stuff, right? Spirituality conversations that really just, I won't say took off, but are a molecule of God and they're on their own path, you know. Happening, and it seems like it's around that archetype. So the modern magician to me seems to be connected to that. You know, we look for it in the modern sphere, and it's emerging out of the jungles, I would say. Touch wood for us to connect, and it was there in the answer that you gave. It's like that multi-dimensional, you know, and that's pretty much what a shaman is, basically a bridge in many ways, right? So they're sitting across multiple dimensions, and now there's this thing in the West where we, you know, you go to these sacred sites and these, you know, ancient cultures, you go to the Amazon, you go to Brazil, you go to Peru, wherever it is, to do this incredible work, and you want to drink the brew and the medicine and have a, you know, have an experience which is available to you. But back in the days, that's not how they operated at all. That you just sat in the room. The shaman drank the medicine, connected because he had access. He'd worked on his internal infrastructure to be able to connect as the magician to the multi-dimensions. And he saw you as an energy field and just started working with your field. Like that was, you went and saw the witch doctor, the magician, right? And he would, but now it's like, again, maybe that's the process. We're coming to our own light. Maybe you're meant to be doing the work on yourself, but also, I don't know, you know, I don't know. It's interesting watching how the times have changed, but interesting contemplation around the magician. But yeah, the darkness, maybe it's just anti-light and it's just a medium for the light to play in. It's an interesting contemplation. Touch wood.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. I love the fact that you introduced the Joker there. I think it's so easy to completely forget the Joker. And the Joker is the one that brings chaos, the one that is there. I mean, over here in Europe, there's the sort of folklore stories around the Green Man, who's the foliate face of the woods of nature. And he is always associated with the Joker and the trickster, that energy that's going to trip you up. But hey, we're going to have a laugh. It's going to be, we're going to have change, but we're going to have a laugh. And in a way, that's the way the universe seems to work a lot. So I would put the magician and the Joker, trickster there right alongside as good old buddies. Yeah. They're working together.
I love that.
Tell us a little bit about your podcast, and you know, because that's your main thrust out into the world at the moment, isn't it?
It really is. It's it's amazing. It's been 7 years of podcasting, of interviewing. Yeah, just incredible individuals. It still humbles me every day. Like, podcasting is such a trip. Okay, like, I'll stop nerding out on it for just 1 sec, but please just, if you can indulge me. Like, I get the concept is have conversations with people you want to learn from and you think are incredibly like inspiring in their own right. The podcast is called Inspired Evolution. So they're inspiring, I'm evolving, you know, and we're all evolving together towards the inspiration. And inspiration just means to infuse spirit into, right? So to breathe in as well. It's like that. It's not motivation. Yeah, motivation is like external and it's like kind of, come on, bit of motivation to get to the gym. But like inspiration is like that thing where you look at it, it's a nice piece of art, or someone says something and you go, oh, you know, it's like you can't help but draw in breath. It animates you, it brings in life force, it's prana, it's mana, it's all the good stuff, right? So inspired evolution and doing these conversations every week. I mean, I can't even quantify. Yeah, it's totally qualitative, the experience. Like quantity just sort of, my mind just smithereens to what's happened over the last 7 years. And now we do 2 a week. It started off a very spiritual entrepreneurship was kind of the trajectory for the longest time. And then recently we found that like the entrepreneurship conversations did well, the mindset conversations did well, the emotional intelligent conversations did well, the relationship conversations did okay. But it was the spirituality conversations that really just like, I won't say took off, but the reception for them was just, and the comments back and the connections and the requests for more pleas and different, like, you know, can you suggest like more suggestions of like similar vein? And it was like, well, there's something here down this particular path that, you know, we've been exploring like 6 or 7 different things around personal development, but it seems like spiritual personal development is really where everything is gravitating towards. And there was a great little check-in about 12 months ago that I had to do with myself to kind of go, would I be happy just dedicating all of my interests and ventures into this particular direction, you know, and sort of, you know, we talked about spiritual entrepreneurship, but just dedicate myself to committing to creating content and exploring the path of spirituality deeper. And touch wood, I feel, you know, so many creators face that juncture, and I know personally, having connected to many creators, they don't always get to say yes to when that path presents. It's like, oh yeah, this is what I love doing the most, and it's what's presenting the best, and I can actually go down this path comfortably. Sometimes it's like, or like people want me to talk about such and like such things, and that's not really in alignment to what I want to talk about, but I'm going to do it for the views, or, you know, or actually like I'm just going to have to steer back to what I want to do, even though it's not going to grow as fast. But touch wood, it just sort of, yeah, working on the Inspired Evolution, it just all kind of lined up. At that point, I was like, I could get away with just talking about spirituality and metaphysics and exploring people's near-death experiences and ancient civilizations and what they knew and what we've lost, and, you know, just whoa, like what was the spirituality of ancient Egyptians? Can you tell me more about that? And what were the Greeks really thinking and drinking? And what's like, whoa, and India, like, what are these flying chariots? Somebody, hello, tell me more. I want to, we can just have conversations on this all the time, and this is where the Inspired Evolution is going. I'm like, all right, I surrender, you know, touch wood. So that's been the thrust of the podcast as of late, for the last 12 months. And yeah, it's been an incredible ride and a journey. It still is. And in so many ways, just to honor how I feel about it, I still feel like we're just getting started. You know, like I don't think we've gotten anywhere close to where we're meant to get to with Inspired Evolution. And that's not ambition. It's just a felt sense of like, okay, now we've finally found where to plant the seed, and we've sort of put it in the dirt. Things still need to sprout and grow into touchwood, or hopefully a sycamore. That'd be great.
Well, yeah, I mean, a lot of the times, sycamore, no, I won't do that. Hang on, I won't say that. Don't worry. Spirituality. So, do you feel guided by, in your life, do you feel guided by other, let's describe it as higher consciousness? Do you feel that yourself? Is that part of your own spiritual belief? Or do you sit very much from this, no, I'm Amrit, I've got my inner light, and I'm doing what I want to do?
It's a great question. And so I was raised in a Sikh household. I was raised in a 50% Hindu, 50% Sikh household. My mother was Hindu, my father was Sikh, and I was, some of my best friends were from like Islamic, Baha'i. Some of my best friends were Orthodox Christian. I went to a Christian Uniting Church school. So that to sort of say the diaspora of faith was always around. And there was a period of my life, interestingly, intersecting with when I kind of went through my depression as well. And there's a whole podcast I've done on stuff like that, faith and depression. But anyway, I digress. Yeah, like there's been a lot of faith. That to say, I never really felt like I had to choose a faith. I do love the Buddhist faith, and as you can see by the paraphernalia, there's a lot of like what Buddhism espouses for me, but there's also some Hindu paraphernalia, also some shamanistic paraphernalia. There's, you know, indigenous. It's like, it all inspires my path forward, I guess. Touch wood. But one of the things about the Sikh faith in particular that resonated so deeply with me is that it was, first of all, so accepting of all other faiths. It was just like everybody's got their own path, you know, and even those that don't believe are a molecule of God and they're on their own path. You know, there's no converting them, there's no telling them. It's like that's what life is presenting over there as its innate self. It wants to question whether, if anything, is even sacred, and how beautiful the questioning, because the questioning is the learning, and the learning is the understanding. And so the word Sikh means learn, right? In Punjabi, which is the mother tongue of, I guess, the Sikh faith. So and the word for God is teacher. Anything can teach you, right? So blade of grass, Tim, me staring at the pot plant in the corner there, me staring at your curtains long enough, you know. Aldous Huxley sure as hell did that. You know, so you know, there's plenty of that. Like you can learn from just about anything. Yeah. And so the word for God is just anything that will teach you. So the whole human experience is to learn. My faith is that to learn, and everything is a teacher. So it becomes interesting because you sort of downwind from there, you sort of lose idol worship. You know, so as a Sikh, like having an idol of Ganesh is a bit kind of like, why? Because it's all Ganesh. Yeah, it's all teaching you. Every inch. One of my friends wrote a song called "Every Inch an Altar, Every Moment a Prayer," and it's such a beautiful song. Every inch an altar, and it just keeps looping. Every moment a prayer. Every single inch around you is an altar, and every single moment is a prayer. Yeah. So the Sikh faith is very much, there is a world outside of you, sure, but it may well be the illusion. It may well be Maya, but you're here to participate in it. Yeah. But God is not out there. God is not, you know, God, it's in all of that, but it's also very deep within you as well. And if you're going to go looking for it, there's a deep connection, touchwood, inside of you to access all of that. So that to sort of say, is there the universe at large playing, you know, I definitely find myself using the word universe in my common vernacular. It's like, and I find that, you know, a very good exercise, actually, just to flick out on a very short little tangent really quickly, is like one of my favorite exercises for myself is to just tune in and go, do I trust the universe has my back? You know, and it's such a revealing, like, because surrender and trust are on both sides of the same coin, right? And so does the universe completely have my back? And it's like, oh, but there was that one time, and it was like, oh, there's an opportunity for you to trust more, which is an opportunity for you to surrender more, which is an opportunity for you to come into wholeness more, right? So definitely, you know, and that's sort of like an externalization of the universe and potentially God as you know, you would look at it. But also, you know, I think there's a real opportunity for us to recognize the God within ourselves, touch wood. Yeah, I think it's everywhere. I think it's everywhere. I think it's outside, it's inside. I know I'm being very diplomatic in my response, aren't I?
Well,
Pardon me for that.
That's fine. Well, you really should feel that you can say whatever you like. But I mean, what I found interesting there is that your response is couched straight away in the frameworks of different faiths, of different beliefs. So you went straight into the frameworks that are available in these different religions, these different organized structures. Whereas, do we, I mean, my question would be, do we really need a framework? Surely it's what you've just said is that actually our connection is deep, is here. God is here.
So absolutely, I don't think structures are necessary. But even as I say that, some part of me feels like it feels blasphemous, and not for the reasons you'd think. So let me just clarify what's going on there. So I believe I get to wake up this morning, have Taoist tonic herbs as part of my morning tea from China. Yeah. Do some stretching, which is yoga from India. Yeah. And then sit in meditation, which again, maybe we can argue comes from India. Drive in a car that was made in Japan to go to an office where things were sourced from all over the world to put the furnishings together. Yeah. And I'm just getting started. This is all the first 3 hours of my day. Yeah. I could do this for the next 12 hours. And so we live in a time, even like our like internal spiritual, like you look at the pillar that is Hinduism, which gives us Ayurveda, yoga, all this sort of stuff. You look at the pillar that is Islam, that gives us the architecture that it does. It gives us all this, like all the things. You give us the pillar that is Christianity and the compassion that it espouses, and all these values that enter the collective consciousness from these deep, deep, deep pillars of people having revered and honored them for, I want to swear, but forever. Yeah, it feels like. And now there's almost like a plateau, like a tabletop that's built onto like a slab, a marble slab that's built on top of all these pillars that we get to dance and wake up and go, a little bit of yoga, a little bit of meditation, a little bit of Taoist tonics herbs, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and like my spirituality gets to dance, and I can believe in the universe, and I can be open. I don't have to believe in any of it. Yeah, which is totally fine, and I totally honor your decision, and I think that's beautiful. My personal experience is we are always standing on the shoulders of giants. It's just how I feel about it. And that's just what consciousness is expressing through me. It may not be your truth, and it doesn't need to be. It just happens to be mine, yeah, which is meant to only be a sliver of the truth, 1/8 billionth or even less of the truth, right? There's animals as well. We're not just all humans carrying consciousness. Anyway, pardon me, digressing again. Yeah, so in there, that's just my truth, that like we're standing on these massive pillars and we're on this marble top. And yes, we get to freely go, I don't have to believe in any of it, and I can believe in all of it, you know. And Judaism, I can believe in all of it, you know. I love the Rastafarian culture, my goodness. But there's no way I could smoke that much ganja, but I love the music, you know. Like it's just, you know, it's just, there's parts that I can take from all of it, you know. And it's a beautiful time to be alive for that melting pot, you know. There's these strands, you know, everything can come together and melt. So I completely believe in, yes, you don't need to believe in any of it. There is, I wouldn't say a nudge to believe. Like if you don't believe, that's also fine. Like I said before, you know, like there is a part of my own personal, not my spirit, but I guess my sort of humble little personality that's gone through a lot of challenges in life, which, yeah, just sees the frailty of the human experience in certain ways. And that's not to say that we're not empowered, but there is a lot of power in faith. It just, my story has shown me that personally. And that doesn't mean that if you don't have faith, you don't have power. More power to you. Yeah, touch wood, for you not having had to go through what you didn't need to and come to those lessons. My life has brought me to a certain different set of lessons, and that's just consciousness experiencing itself. If you've got questions about where I'm coming from with that, there is a beautiful poem by, it's a short story / poem by Andy Weir called The Egg. And I highly recommend you go check it out. I find myself wanting to record just a monologue of it and upload it to my channel, even though it's not a podcast. But yeah, it's it'll explain a lot around kind of what I mean by we're all playing our role in this fractal universe as the fractals that we are.
There's a phrase in shamanism, and I'm sure it's also evident in many of the other faiths as well, that you were talking about there, that you've cited there, that, you know, we stand on the shoulders of giants, we stand on our ancestors' knowledge and our ancestors' wisdom, and that's part of the learning. But also the shaman's path is to find the new way, is to look at the new path forward. And I think that's that's really what you've just said, actually, is that you can take everything. It's not just shamanism, bring it all together and go, where do you want to go? But that also is part of what we learn from the science that is emerging through the quantum physics, through quantum theory and all sorts of things. And especially with advancements in neuroscience, where we've got people like Donald Hoffman looking at, well, hang on, this is just the dashboard. So illusion, yeah, okay, let's go there. But it's also real. And, you know, it's a fascinating time to be alive that you...
Isn't it just?
I mean, we're being given the chance to really make the decisions about what we are. That's really where I see it. You know, we've got all of this multi-faith input that's occurred for eons. And now we're at that point, like you said, right on that marble tabletop, we're saying, right, but what are we really? And it's like, okay. And that's the power of manifesting the way that I see it, is that this is our choice. Our choices are becoming...
Choice.
It's so important, because that takes you on the fractal path and opens up a different aspect of that fractal nature. And that's what I think people are finding so difficult right now to get their heads around, is that actually, yeah, you say, okay, well, let's say somebody thinks, I don't want to use the term conspiracy theory, or let's just reference dear old David Icke for a second, right?
Sure.
So David Icke was, still is, I mean, bless him, he's still alive, champion of alternative thinking and alternative concept, and champion of wanting to express himself in the need to make people wake up. And that's the way he tended to do it, was you've got to wake up because look what's happening. Right. Now, if somebody followed his thinking and bought into much of the oppression that can be experienced by a human being, it's then embedded in their life. And as a life coach, you'll get this, you'll see this in the people that come to you. What people can't, what the hardest thing that I see is for us all to recognize what we have agreed to, and to realize that it is what we have agreed to, and therefore to detach and change what we've agreed to. Does that make sense?
It does. I think there's more context to be added to the frame, because when you say what we have agreed to, which part of we are you referring to?
The human being, the humanistic attitude, because it's the human being level, right back down into grounded physical form, that actually has the problem with reality, with life. It's not the soul self that is our true selves, but our battle half the time is to actually enable the humanistic thinking to see the value of the soul self that is learning and has taken us and brought us here.
So I'm going to take the time then to sort of introduce just a quick concept, because that'll enable me to sort of answer the question with greater ease down the line. So bear with me just a moment. But I struggle with the term levels in what I'm about to introduce, because levels makes it sound like people graduate and then the people are better than others, and that's just so far from the truth. God help us all. But nonetheless, right? So we've got 4 levels of consciousness. Technically there's 5. Level 0 is pre-language, but everyone's pretty much got language now. So 4 levels of consciousness as we sort of know it for the moment, right? So we've got level 1, yeah, which is, when I'm doing my coaching, I call this guy the victim. Yeah, it's just an easy label. Pardon me, it's a bit intense, but it just is. In that space, that individual, it's kind of what Carol Dweck's work when she talks about growth versus fixed mindset. Fixed mindset is level 1 consciousness. Yeah, her work was cracking people through from level 1 to level 2 consciousness. Carol Dweck's work, growth mindset is what she calls it, is literally the tool to get from there to there, right? From level 1 to level 2. So level 1 is victim, and it's identified, its symptomology is life is happening to me. Life is happening to me. And this ladder that I'm going to give you, like, you know, life is happening a certain way, is the diagnostics of, you know, which level you're at and which level you occupy. And again, I feel like it's more of a spectrum, because certain days you feel certain ways and other days you feel other ways. But anyway, so level 1, victim, life is happening to you. Through the faculty of questioning and growth and openness, you crack into level 2, right? Maybe life's not just happening to me. Maybe I'm in control. Maybe, I'm questioning growth. Okay, cool. Growth is happening because you're questioning. Beautiful. Level 2, I call this guy the achiever. Yeah, this guy is like, I can set some goals, I reckon, and I can go get them. And he goes out and he go gets them, and he achieves them, and he achieves and he achieves, and he does really well. Life is happening not to this individual, it's happening by this individual. This person's in control. Yeah, this is level 2 consciousness. But a lot of the people that come to coaching, they are type A, highly driven individuals, leaders, accomplish a lot of stuff. And after having accomplished the one thing and the next thing and the next, it's a bit hollow. I'm doing this equation like if this, then that, and but like the equation, like I keep substituting out what I'm putting in, and like if BMW, then happiness, or if nice house, then happiness, or if 3 kids, then joy, or like, you know, if this job, then abundance. But I keep doing that, and it's just I'm realizing I'm burning out on this rat race. Not like I'm burnt out, but like I'm just burnt. How much longer do I keep playing this equation to find the next thing and it not get anywhere? It's like, okay, great. So at that point, we start to crack open into level 3, right? And level 3 consciousness, here we start to get into the place, the thing you're being invited to do is surrender. Yeah, and this will tie back into what you were speaking about before. So level 3 is, I call them the surrenderer, and I'm still working on that one, or the flower. I like the word flower. The book I'm writing is called Meta Flow because it's all about level 3 consciousness, right? And what life flows like when you're in that surrender and that flow and enabling yourself. And it's not about losing the old parts of you, it's about integrating them in, but dare I digress again. So level 3 is all about flow, right? And about surrender and surrendering to life. The main faculty is to surrender because you've done all the achieving and it's like, didn't quite get me where I wanted to go anyway, but I've gotten somewhere pretty remarkable. And actually the times where life has been in control, things have actually worked out all right. Do I need to push so much? Maybe I'm allowed to be pulled a little bit. And so that's level 3 consciousness. Yeah. Here, life is happening for you. Yes. We went from life is happening to you. Yeah. You're a victim subjugated by life, touch wood. Then life is happening by you. You're in control. Now you've had to release control again, but in a different way, right? And so now life is happening for you. Yeah. So this is, again, you might say this is a bit more feminine. So level 1's a bit more feminine. Level 3's a bit more feminine. Not to say that, just sort of riffing with you here, not to say feminine and masculine are higher than each other. Pardon me for that comes into the conversation. It's not meant to be there. Level 2 is all about life is happening by you. Then you get to, just to fill out the conversation, level 4, life is happening as you. You're back in control in some ways, but you're not really in control. Life is you and you are life. And this is like Amma, the hugging saint that walks around. She's just hugging people as an extension of her. She's just hugging consciousness and healing's happening. And it's like, what? Yeah, like, Jesus, I am the light, I am the way. Like, this life is happening as me. Like, we are one. We're in this experience, right? So that's level 4 consciousness. And there are people alive that occupy that space. So now that we've got that awareness, yeah, I'm going to answer both of your questions. Firstly, about choice. And then secondly, about David Icke and the conspiracy theories, now that we've got that model. So the first question about choice, I would like to answer from the point of level 2 and level 3 consciousness, right? So at level 2, like, yes, absolutely, you have a choice and your responsibility is a choice. Life is happening by you and there's no spiritual bypassing. Like, you've got to make the choice. Let's go. Yeah, come on. You're empowered. Choose. Life is happening by you, achiever. Go get it. Yeah, absolutely. At a certain point, life is choosing you. And what is life choosing through you? Like, what is life choosing for you? What has life chosen? What has your spirit chosen? Well, life is choosing you. It's a different kind of empowerment to recognize that life has chosen you as the character and avatar to experience itself. Yeah, so are you in control of the choice, or is life in control? Are you surrendering? There's a lot of choice, but it's life's choice, and you and your ego is struggling to wrap your head around that one, right? So that's the level 3. So that's where we come into choice, like, absolutely, but the dynamic of choice evolves significantly, but it is your agency. It is, like you said, in the meat body, it's where your rubber hits the road. Abso-freaking-lutely. Yeah? That's you choose. But which you, when I was like, which you chooses, right? Is it the personality and the character and the mind and the ego you, which absolutely has a place in level 2 consciousness, and you need to do that. Again, no spiritual bypassing here. Or is it level 3 consciousness? Yeah, is it like life is choosing through me and my choice is to allow the choice of life, thy will be done, right? To choose through me, and to allow that and to surrender into that. So that for me is the best way that I can discuss the choice piece. David Icke. Okay, here we go. Roll up your sleeves, ladies and gentlemen. And all the reptilian overlords are tuning in as well. This one's for you. So look, level 4 consciousness is unity consciousness. Yeah, we talked about surrender. So level 4, life is happening as me. You are one with it. And I've actually had some friends pop into unity consciousness, and it's fascinating. They're just friends of mine, and they're just occupying this non-dual state most of the time. And I'm like, oh, you like, and it is an enlightenment in some ways, because it's lighter. They just carry them. They've just dropped so much unnecessary baggage. And I'm like, man, this is incredible. I could just talk to you forever. Anyway, again, I've digressed, but level 4, unity consciousness. So one of the things it started for me when the Inspired Evolution was kind of birthed. It was probably 2 years prior to the birth of the Inspired Evolution that I started going into I started foraying into conspiracy theories. And it started with the Rothschilds and money, because I started to go, I'm working so hard for money. What is money? And so I started to explore what is money. And it's like, oh, it used to be backed by gold. It was, you know, it started with shells. We started transacting shells. Oh, that's useful. I'm getting informed. And it used to be backed by gold at a certain point. Oh, that's useful. And then it stopped being backed by gold. And I was like, wait, what? And it just generated numbers on computers. And I was like, wait, what? And it's like, yeah, it's just an artificial construct of numbers and transactions and different values and perceived values of perceived value. It's like the part that I'm struggling to reconcile in that is that people take their lives over debt. I couldn't reconcile that. Like I still today, like for me, that's jagged. Yeah, I'm just gonna speak to it. It just doesn't feel comfortable for me. So that's where I started to question. But what happens with conspiracy theories? You pick one, and that's not like to some that's information, right? Now, but what happens is you start to look at that, and then you start to look at the next thing, and you start to look at the next thing, and you start to look at the next thing. And people that are occupying the space around one piece of information, which has like 85% truth in it, somehow tumbled into a space where they're now introducing concept which feels like there's only 15% truth in it. But because you bought in 85% truth at the first place, you're now buying in 85% truth in the next concept. And now that's not just the very next thing. It's like you go down the next rabbit hole, right? And you go down the next rabbit hole. The next rabbit hole for me was like diamonds for a wedding. You know, I was thinking about a wedding and I was like, oh my God, De Beers. Like this was just something that was just marketing. Like diamonds aren't actually worth that much, of supply and control. And you're getting informed. And the journey of informed versus, you know, you slipping out of information into conspiracy, reminding you about the 4 levels of consciousness, very easy to distill, very difficult when I was going through it. And I had to go through like a whole journey to bring myself back home. Because as you can tell through the Inspired Evolution, I'm thirsty for knowledge. And I was led astray by a lot of conspiracy theories, to the point where I shouldn't even introduce this into the conversation, but just to give you an insight, like I'm watching like Hollywood, like I'm learning about Hollywood cult initiations and bloody presidents' wives aren't women, they're men. And I'm like, what am I like? What is in my mind? Like, this is my mind. And Gandhi said it, right? It's like, I will not let anybody trespass my mind with their dirty feet, you know? It's like, and here I am like soaking it, like trying to get more of it in. And I'm just like, whoa. There's a moment there where I was just like, what is happening here? And I realized shortly thereafter that actually a lot of these conspiracy theories are an energy entity, you can call it that, unto themselves to some degree, and they're actually getting their energy from you believing in them. And that's now not to say bury your head in the sand, don't go seek information, but learning to distill the difference between information and knowledge and conspiracy is a very, very important tool and skill, especially in a world of misinformation. The internet throws a lot of things at you. How do we do it, Amrit? Please help. Yeah, I had to work my way through it. So after about 6 months of like getting into this really icky, maybe David Icke, that's why Icke is icky. I don't know, touch wood. Pardon me, David. I don't want to do that to you. I don't want to project that on you, mate. But yeah, anyway, it just came out fluidly in conversation. So pardon the jokester in me. But yeah, I ended up in this icky place, yeah? And so I'm in there and it's like, what? I need to come home. Like, I'm not home, yeah? And that was a visceral realization. Like, I am so far from a safe place. Like, it doesn't feel like reality safe. Like, my water's not clean. My this is not my money, no. And it's just like, oh my God, I'm such a victim. I'm so pinned down by these forces. So I set out on a journey of knowledge and empowerment, and yet I'm completely fucking compromised. Sorry, I ended up swearing. Completely fucking compromised, yeah? And so what was your original intention and where did you end up? And so in there, I had to come home and go, okay, for the next 3 months, no more consumption of information and knowledge, because you can't be trusted with the information you're bringing into yourself. You're going to connect purely to the 4 elements. Maybe this is the magician or the alchemist coming back in. What is my relationship with my water? Am I hydrating in the morning? Am I hydrating well throughout the day? Am I in reverence of the water? What is my relationship with the air that I breathe? In my meditations, in my breath work, take time to meditate, clear your mind, breathe, just connect to your breath. Am I moving well? How's my relationship with the earth? Am I going for walks? Am I getting barefoot on the ground? Am I going for barefoot runs on the oval? Just bringing it back. Is the food that I'm eating good, decent, clean, wholesome, nourishing? Not just has to be organic, but it cannot be organic in some ways. In a good Indian curry, very harding for me. Is it emotionally nourishing? Touch wood. And then from there, it's like, okay, then also your relationship with the sun. What is your relationship with the fire? Are you getting good vitamin D? Are you spending time in the sun? Are you taking moments to appreciate? And I had to strip it back to that level of basics for the next 3 months. And I came home. The elements are always there to guide you home, right? Touch wood. It's an absolute gift and a blessing of nature. They make up who we are. And, this whole dance is the intersection of those gifts that, these 4, potentially 5, depending on what you believe, elements are sort of dancing and playing and experiencing themselves and facilitating life force energy to experience itself as. So I got there and finally started to come whole, and I started to basically become more and more integrated back within myself. And that key word is the distillation, integration. So remembering the 4 levels of consciousness, at level 4, life is happening as you. Consciousness is unity, right? It's having this very trippy experience where it's divided itself to experience itself, potentially just to love itself, but we can argue about that all we want, yeah? But it's divided itself, yeah, to experience itself. But it is one. Super trippy, Mobius strip, like in reality trippy, like wow. And yet there are certain things which integrate you further, which actually unify you, heart, body, mind, and soul more. And those pieces of knowledge, when that's happening, it's like, I'm more informed, I'm more empowered, I can make a really good decision with that. Yeah. But at a certain point, it's like there are reptilian overlords running me, and it's like, I feel dis-fucking integrated from myself. Like, I can't make a good decision with that. Like, I am off my center. Like, why am I being, what? And that is disintegrative. Yeah. And if it's true for you, because truth is always subjective. Remember back to what I was saying, that's my truth, like about faith. Yours is going to be different. It needs to be different. Otherwise, one of us is superfluous to the grand design of it all. Yeah. So that to sort of say, in that point, is it integrative or is it disintegrative? Are you feeling more unified, more whole? Did you go out for a quest of knowledge and came back with what you were looking for in your being, inserted that chip like it happened to Neo in the Matrix? Now he knows Kung Fu. Fucking amazing. Yeah? Or are you out there and you're just completely lost in a sea of information? You're just further from where you ever really wanted to get to, right? And that is the distillation. I know I've taken my time to respond to this question, but I think it's an important one, touchwood, because that was a very challenging 6 months that I went through for myself. And I dare not wish it upon anybody else, and I think it's important, there's respect for people that are waking people up into different areas of knowledge. But again, whether they're right, whether they're wrong, they're playing a role for you as consciousness to come to more knowledge and also to learn more discernment. And it's up to you to do the work. And the tool in there is, am I more integrated or am I disintegrated? Right? And that's where a lot of the shamanistic work, you come in with an intention, you leave with integration, right? It's like, what is your integration of all this work, touchwood? And so integration is the diagnostic there.
Excellent, Ambrit. That's a brilliant answer. Yeah, I mean, thank you for taking the time and for unpacking that in the way that you did. Mate, I could carry on talking to you for another hour easily, but I'm going to have to draw a line under it. It's interesting. Some of our viewers will actually be saying, "But Tim, you've left it at the crucial part," because you mentioned you got onto thought forms and that reptilian sort of energy, and a reptilian per se I'm not aligned with, but the concept of other energies that are around and access our consciousness. Anyway, look, maybe when you've written your book, hopefully that won't be too far off, maybe you can come back on, we'll have another chat. I'd like to explore that side of things. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much. I'm glad we managed to arrange this, and I'll share something with you. Your PA, your assistant. I mean, she might be your wife. I don't know, but
she's my assistant. Yeah,
your assistant. Okay, very persistent. Okay, to the extent that I thought, who is this guy, Amrit? Who is this guy, Amrit Sandhu? I thought, look,
pesky,
this lady is not going to give up until I send her a sensible reply. So I dropped into one of your interviews, and you were talking about the power of subjective reality, and I thought, I've got to talk to him. And it was straight away. It was like, yeah, I've got to talk to him. So I'm grateful to your assistant for arranging this. Thank you for sharing your wisdom and your time. It's been great.
Tim, wow. Thank you so much to Monique for facilitating this conversation. I know she'll be listening in avidly. She is a massive, she's such a big part of the Inspired Evolution and everything we do. The team is, such an incredible team. Touchwood, we have, feeling very blessed and loved and supported by that. And Tim, my God, thank you so much for the depth of your questions, brother. Like, wow, just, I felt really safe to be able to share just, openly in every question you asked. It was imperative that in this particular container that you've created, that I didn't just respond to the question at the level that was being asked at. It was, how do I bring everything the question is really asking? And I think that's a testament to the space that you're holding and the interviews that you're conducting. And just really, really, honored to be here, and also a real gift to experience the way you interview and the way you hold so fluidly this space. And it's been a real treat. It's been a real treat. Definitely.
Bless.
One of my favorites. Thank you so much for having me on. No. And it would be my honor to be back if you'd be willing to.
Absolutely.
I'm pesky after all.
Absolutely. Hey, that's great. No, good man. Good man. Have a lovely evening. Give your children a hug. And I'll see you one day soon.
Yeah, much love to your grandchild as well. And give him a cuddle from us, and we'll stay in touch.